All right, and to close things off, let's talk about Cry Macho. This is a new film, produced, directed, and starring Clint Eastwood, right? The icon himself, the man himself, who, yeah, I mean, is still making films at age 91. Think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say just right off the bat though, like I went in, I went in completely blind into this one as well. So I didn't want to watch any promo or promotional stuff or trailers for it, right? So but what I got from the poster itself, and what I got from who, or I should say where Clint Eastwood is right now in his life, right? It's one of those, how to say, drama films, right? And that's what exactly what it is. But in this case, it's more of a neo-western than anything else, right? And what it centers on, well, I forgot to mention, is actually based off of a novel of the same name. Came out like in the 70s, I believe it was, right? So
Okay.
yeah, so it's set in 1979, right? We introduced Mike Milo, who's played by Clint Eastwood. He was a rodeo star, but because he got his back severely injured, he's retired from that, right? So basically, he's just kind of working in this how to say, in this sort of, he just kind of just there basically, just working for this guy who pretty much rears horses, right? He is named Howard Polk. He's played by Dwight Yoakam. Didn't even know he was in this movie as well, right? And yeah, Mike is tasked with the mission of going to Mexico City to find his 13-year-old son, right? Who is Mexican, right? I forgot the actor's name who plays him, right? But the character name is Raphael, right? He is with his mom, his Mexican mom there, and this is sort of like legal issue thing going on. So just basically, he just kind of doesn't want to. He just doesn't want the boy to be around the mother, so he wants to take him back, basically, right? So Mike just drives down. He meets the mom. The mom is a drunk, you know what I mean? But she's like really fervent in terms of like taking care of her. Well, sorry, holding on to her son. But the thing is that the son is basically out in the streets. He gets involved with like cockfighting and stuff like that. So he's just more or less just fending for himself now because his mom clearly couldn't care, right? So yeah, eventually Mike runs into Raphael now, and it basically kind of tells him, well, I need to take you back to your dad, right? And they run into just different situations. So of course, well, I forgot to mention, his mom being, this rich woman, has these goons who works for, sorry. So she sends them out ever so often to try and track them down. And well, if it comes to the point of pulling out guns, they'll pull out guns, right? Of course, Mike being who he is and his age, he's not into that, right? But he is tasked with protecting his boy, and that's exactly what he does, right? And throughout it now, as you would expect, they form this sort of father son bond basically. There's even a subplot involving this widow who is taking care of these these girls basically, right? Well, mostly grandchildren. And in a nice little warm, like light-hearted note, she actually falls for Mike, and they have like a little relationship thing going on too. But really and truly, the movie is just about Mike and Raphael and their dynamic. And I'll stop here, right? So the thing about this show, right? To really appreciate this show, you have to really appreciate the movies that Clint has been starring in. I would say, well, okay, if you want to go way back, you could say right after he did Unforgiven in 1992, right? You know what I mean? Probably
Yeah.
one of, if not his great best films ever made, right? But that one in particular was like signaling that he was done with westerns, right? This was his farewell. This was his tribute to Sergio Leone and Don Siegel. You know what I mean? Two directors who we have looked up to. Don Siegel, as you know, is the guy who directed Dirty Harry, right? So
Yeah.
that it just pretty much put Clint Eastwood on this new path, right? So he wasn't doing cop films and thrillers and westerns. Now he's doing more contemporary stuff, right? But as you tell, like I would say, since '95 with this film, The Bridges of Madison County, which I still haven't seen. Well, I think I did. I can't remember if I did. It was a long time, right? He was leaning towards more, dramatic films and like just seeing like I'm not going to be the tough guy anymore because I'm getting older and I just kind of don't want to be the tough guy. I've been playing the tough guy for like, 3 decades now. So, yeah, I'm done. I just want to do something new, right? Um, but you see it even more in the 2000s now, like especially with this movie Gran Torino, which is still one of my all-time favorite post Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood films, right? Mainly because of how he was just playing against the archetype of the Dirty Harry character, right? The get off my lawn, and I mean, like always coming with some kind of snappy one-liner before you pull out the gun, right? So he was just playing against that character, right? I love that, and just the idea of this is him playing this grumpy old man who forms this bond with this it wasn't a Vietnamese kid. I can't remember where he was from.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but South Asian, community basically, right? Yeah, it just made for a really great film, a great drama as well too. And then of course, him being a director as well too. I mean, you know about Million Dollar Baby, which is a show that I've only seen once, and because of how
we'll never watch again.
it just broke my way. It was just so goddamn sad. Like I can't watch a movie again. Like on God, I can't watch that movie again. So yeah, I mean, so he's not doing these action films or Western films anymore because he's just not about that. And I, for one, I honestly respect that. Like even though some of his films, his directed films, kind of miss the mark. Like famous example, American Sniper.
Yeah, American Psycho was like notoriously kind of unprofessional, and I didn't think it was that bad of a movie, but it was unprofessional and kind of bad. Really. That section that was terrible.
Like right down to having poor Bradley Cooper hold a fake baby.
Fake baby, yeah. Like what the fuck? Serious?
Warner Brothers giving you money. Come on, that's what I see, right? But yeah, and even like his recent films, like I remember the last one he did was The Mule.
Which was not the worst thing ever, but yeah, it fell flat. Yeah.
But I did appreciate that it was old man, Clinton, doing the films that he want to make, right? And just to jump into the review here, this is kind of the way that you have to look at a film like this, right? So just to get this out of the way, right? No, it is not a perfect film, right? Especially in terms of the screenplay. I think the script is where the show stumbles a lot, right? Because like the premise is simple, right? You've seen it before, right? And you're watching it, and it's like, all right, I'm getting it, but I'm not really feeling the emotion in it. Like it's how to say, like it shifts tones ever so often. So it would go for a little gritty, a little dark at times, especially like when you learn the nature of the conditions that the boy has to live in and stuff like that. But then when you go to the bonding moments, the father-son moments, especially when they bring in the widow into the film as well too, they go for like this real like heartwarming stuff. So it's supposed to be like you're watching it like, oh, isn't that cute? And I mean, Clint with this old woman and in love. Oh, that's so cute, right? So it's trying to tug at your heartstrings like that. But I would admit though, even though I did appreciate the film for what it is, I didn't come out of it like emotionally moved by it. It was just like, it's fine. It's a fine movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The supporting cast, I mean, they do their thing. I wouldn't say that, they deliver any like great powerhouse performances, right? But really, it all rests on, for better or for worse, on Clint Eastwood's shoulders, right? And, I don't want to say that he's playing himself, but, he's every bit that you would expect him to be.
Right.
He is older, you know what I mean? So, he moves in a certain way, right? You know what I mean? He will still talk tough and whatnot, but, at this point in his life and even in the movie here, he will get tough if he has to, but he's the type of person who will not resort to violence. So like there's no point in the film where he will shoot at someone or anything like that, right? You would think because it's him and because of the genre, the neo-western genre, you would think that okay, at some point in time he's gonna be that cowboy, but throughout the show it's just like, yeah, I'm a cowboy, because I'm from Texas, but I'm not like the cowboy who would just up and pull a gun at you, even if you come between me and, a loved one, right? It's like that, right? So it's very, how to say, the movie itself is very sentimental, right? But at the same time, no, while it is sentimental, I do wish that, again, like I just wish that I felt it more emotionally. And it's just really because of how plain and simple, admittedly, the premise is, right? There's no like real like this bits of moments of tension basically, but not really all that for me to be like, wow, like if they don't get out of the situation here, or if this person, doesn't get over this, then it's not like that, right? And you would think it would be like that because of the lead there, but it's not like that. And I guess it's the book that's from, but I don't know, I just felt that there could have been more emotionally gripping moments, right? But I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, Clint Eastwood does his thing, though. Yeah, I mean, even at his age, you like seeing him on screen, right? You like seeing him talk and move the way he does and all that kind of stuff, right? And for me, though, as a fan, I am just still in awe that he is still alive and still doing these things, right? Which brings up one other issue now, or at least the way how people may look at this film, right? Before I get to rating, right? So I don't want to call wolf or anything like that, right? But I want to, seeing that, he is literally 91 years old, right? I kind of see this film as, I would say, one of his twilight films, right? So similar to The Mule, for example. This is one of his twilight films, right? So people may not gravitate to it because of how simple and sentimental it is, but because it's a twilight film in the guy's career now, we really don't know realistically at this moment if we're going to see anything else from this guy. Like, just to be real here, right? So, you kind of, like, so at the same time, like, while you do appreciate that he's making the film he wants to make now, you kind of still wondering if, ultimately, if he could have just swung a little bit more for the fences, like, if he could have just done a little bit more, like, similar to, like, Unforgiven, for example, where it's like, alright, no, well, this film is special because this is the last time I'm gonna do the authentic, Western film. Like, this is the last time I'm gonna do this thing, right? So he swung high for that one, and that is why, won Oscar for Best Picture and all that kind of stuff, right? The rest is history, right? But here it just kind of feels like, you know what, this is simple, fine, basic storytelling here, nothing too spectacular, you know what I mean? But like I could tell, like, he knows the audience. He know who he making it for, right? I always say like this with his films in 2000s and 2010s. He makes it for for the individual who wants to sit down, have a cold beer, you know what I mean, on a Sunday morning and a Sunday afternoon and just watch a night's film. That's what it is, right? Yeah, but I don't know how else a film like this could have played out though, and that's why I really blame the script for this though, because again, Clint is in a different space right now in his life now. So, you might watch this film, for example, Ricardo, and think, well, it's too slow, it's too boring. But again, look at who he is. Look at where his age right now. You know what I mean? So he probably wants to make these sort of slower, more heartfelt films, right? And I can't knock him for that. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, this is one that will divide even the hardest of Clint Eastwood fans. But I would make the argument that, given his age, it kind of has to be this way, you know what I mean? So the show is, right? Like, I can't say it could have been better. I can't say it would have been worse. It just is. It's just fine for what it is, right? But again, just think about this Twilight film, right? So, I don't know if we will get any more films from this from Clinton's career realistically, but I mean, if this is the last film we will see from him, you kind of just have to take it for what it is, right? So you could always go back to his previous films and say, yeah, those films were better, you know what I mean? Or you may prefer his older films because of how slower and gentler and sweeter they are, right? But it's to each his own, right? For me, rating wise, I'll give this a light 3.5 out of 5, man. I'll say it is still worth checking out, right? Especially if you are a fan of Clint Eastwood, right? But I would say you have to be more appreciative of the older content, like the stuff that he make in the 2000s and 2010s to really appreciate, right? If you're going expecting it to be like him sort of subverting the, his old personas, like, with Gran Torino, for example, you'll be very, very disappointed with this one. But I mean, for what it is, it's fine. For what I hear, and just to wrap things up though, I hear it didn't really do that well in the box office though, and I will confess though, it is a show that you should. I would actually recommend watching it at home, watch it at HBO Max, and actually seeing it in theaters, honestly. It's like that, right? But again, given the nature of the show and given the nature of where Clint is in his life, it kind of just is. It's kind of like, well, of course it would be like this. Of course people
Yeah, you give him that
come
pass.
out to see a film like this. It's just in nature. Sorry. Right now, I think Shang-Chi is still number one. So of course, Cry Macho wasn't gonna beat Shang-Chi. I mean, right? But still, again, if you're a fan, yeah, give it a look, man. You're probably not gonna remember it in a hurry, but still, again, given where he is right now, yeah, I appreciate it for what it is, man. So, love it, hate it, still, give it a look.